All right, welcome back to INN's Headlines and Beyond for March 20th, 2012. We've been sort of talking about the DCA, SOPA, and the issues that are going on with the U.S. economy and how a large chunk of the problems that we're seeing in the U.S. economy are actually related to political policy and they're not necessarily a monetary issue. Uh, and the economic problems are going to continue on unless we make this an issue to get our rights back, to get America back to doing what it's doing, and start promoting our rights and freedoms again. This will eliminate a lot of the regulations that are sort of hampering business from doing business, and people from doing what they want to do in terms of living their lives. Uh, and the thing is that there's this group that sort of popped up, and this will sort of highlight things for you. Uh, if you've heard the word Protect IP, SOPA, and a lot of other stuff that particularly maybe your kids maybe told you about it, or you saw it on the internet, you saw the internet blackout that occurred when all these internet groups got together and sort of shut everything down. Well, this one of the groups behind this is a group called what's they're called again? They're called uh, demandprogress.org. They have a particular website for this, and they send out a lot. They send out a lot of these emails to support the their attacks on these particular Orwellian things. And one of the things that popped up and they sort of highlighted is that now, and this is why this is being brought up now, because there is a new SOPA in the works. They're bringing a new SOPA to the floor. And they're always doing something like that. If they're not doing it one way, they're doing it another way. This SOPA was aimed at the ISPs, the force ISPs and service providers to shut down if anything down that sort of violates their, or what they consider to be violates the DCA, or is a piracy thing. They are now working on a law, trying to get a law passed in Congress that would make streaming illegal. You would get 10. You can stream things 10 times. Other than that, the stuff will be deleted, and they could be coming to your house and arresting. They're making it a felony now. They said it would be a felony. You would actually be able to do prison time based on the new laws for these streaming what they call copywritten video without the proper permissions. So let's say there is a political video. Let's say Lady Gaga makes a song with a political statement. A lot of her stuff has the so-called statements in it. If you stream her song inside of a documentary on these on the different political issues that she subscribes to, you can be arrested and put in jail as a felon for doing this. Now, this is it. I mean, let's go back to the First Amendment. What I said about the First Amendment, the law in the First Amendment, the First Amendment states for free speech that Congress shall create no law abridging the right to freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Well, does this law DCA abridge the right to freedom of speech and the freedom of the press? Yeah. Does anyone from the music and entertainment industry care about this? Are these people who are coming up with the edgy statements and the way she's actually trying to stand against this, or are they selling out to the monetary interests? Lady Gaga sold out. You see the copyright behind her stuff. Try to download some of her stuff for free. Go download and stream a bunch of Lady Gaga tunes and see what happens. I guarantee they're going to be flagged. I guarantee you're going to be taken down, and I guarantee you that you'll be told that this is a DCA violation and that you have to remove that has to be removed. And this is the problem here. The people who are pretending to stand up, these celebrities who are basically PR people, and pretending to stand up for these human rights issues are lying to you. And it can be proven that they're lying. This is the same way that people, the celebrities who backed Obama and talk about rock the vote and all this. That's all bullshit. That's all PR. That's all political PR. You're being sold on giving away your rights and freedoms. They actually taught in schools, and kids believe it now, that it's wrong to steal intellectual property. And then by freeing it that way, stealing intellectual property, that means you cannot criticize anybody without their permission. You got a video on the site that you want to take down and you want to incorporate it in part of your work as for a documentary to criticize their work. You can't do that. You have to ask their permission for it first. It's wrong. It's stealing. This is what's happened to freedom of speech. This is what's happened to freedom of thought. And the people that have bought this, who now believe this, is unbelievable. This includes people who are clergymen in the church, no matter what church belong. You'll find people who believe this. And this is all a lie. All this stuff about the theft of intellectual property is a lie, is propaganda. It's not true. And this is why this, the SOPA, Protect IP, and making sure if there's a petition that goes out to a politician, and they say it's going out to a politician to make it known that you don't support these bills, sign the petition, send them out. I'm going to be doing more research on this, and I will be doing more coverage on Demand Progress about all these different, these we'll call the clicktivism, where you can click and sign a petition very easily. I will be following more up on this and giving you more details. But I also want to start making this an election issue, because we now are in the primaries. This needs to be made an election issue, because it does affect the economy. This speaks to our freedoms. We shouldn't have to be molested every time we go past the border. America was founded on the principles of individual freedom, that we could move anywhere we wanted to. That we didn't have to be molested by police if we weren't doing anything wrong. That the police had to have probable cause to come and molest us. Just the way they molested the TSA molested that 3-year-old boy that we saw in the viral video, or they molested the NBC reporters for simply having a camera and filming out in front of a hospital. I mean, this stuff has to be addressed. It has to be made an issue in the elections here, because this speaks to the larger problems in the economy. If we are going to be arrested for trying to earn a living, or trying to earn our own money because some higher up in the government believes that we are a tax cheat, or that we owe the government X amount of money to pay off the debts that they created. Listen to what Obama's saying to everybody. They created a debt. And now we're responsible, the average citizen is responsible to pay this debt. Are we slaves? Are we indentured to the state where we have to give up X amount of dollars to the state every so often and ask the state for permission that we, if we can have a livelihood or where we can live? Is this the American state that we live in? And that's why I say, this is why these issues are important to this election. And this is why this, in the first part of the news broadcast, even though it's the next section won't take it won't be as much as it was before. We'll spend less time on it rather than spending the time that we've done now. We've spent about 40 minutes on this because it is an important issue. And again, we will be continuing on. We will be saying more about this. And here's where it comes in now, is that this has had an impact globally. Because right now, Obama, in the Iranian sanctions, stated that in order for the interest of freedom, that they're not going to include Twitter, Facebook, and so on and so forth in the sanctions. That Iran and Iranians can participate in Facebook and so on and so forth. Well, here's the problem with this: Facebook routinely turns over political dissidents to the government, or whatever government it is. If you're an Iranian and you're posting on YouTube or Facebook, and in this case Facebook, Facebook will turn you over to the Iranian government. It's done this. It did this in Bangladesh. It did this in Thailand, where it turned people who were on Facebook writing something against the government of Thailand and Bangkok, and they turned them over to the government. Facebook has had a history of turning over and exposing dissidents. And this is all part of laws being pushed forward by Obama. So what Obama is saying up there, saying, "Oh, we're going to allow, they're going to have the freedom of the internet," he's lying. Because these very laws, these SOPA, the Protect IP, are coming across his desk, and even though they're not getting passed in Congress, in these groundbreaking social network sites like Facebook, which were set up to be, were more socially oriented. The flagging was set up not to necessarily, well, it was set up to protect people who had the same political ideals, the socialized ideals that were coming out of Berkeley, that were coming out of California, and like that. Is now being used, these flagging tools are now being used to really censor everybody. It started with one group that said, okay, we're socialists, we don't want Christian rights, and we want to promote, gay rights, we want to do all these different things. And so if you said something against homosexuals, you can be flagged, and your Facebook page could be taken down. This was before. Now it's slowly crept forward that now everybody and any political idea, no matter what it is, can be censored and removed from Facebook, and political dissidents turned over to the authorities that they're rebelling against. This is the reality on Facebook. And here's where we need to make our next step beyond simply signing petitions. Right now, Facebook is facing an IPO. They're trying to get their shares to be sold on the stock exchange. They're being done through Goldman Sachs. If we make it enough of an issue about Facebook's draconian measures, about how it's eliminating political dissent, how it's exposing dissidents to prosecution and execution in fascist states, if we make this enough of an issue, we disturb the IPO, they'll start getting the idea to leave our freedoms alone. We need to bring this to Mark Zuckerberg and say, you can't do this. You cannot censor people like this. You cannot expose dissidents like this. On Facebook, you should not have to have a virtual ID. And this is one of the other things that we're working on creating. Is if anyone who knows, have had problems, and there are a number of people who have had problems, are getting locked out of Facebook and said, well, we need a photo ID to prove who you are. In other words, they want to identify you. And this is how they've turned over dissidents. This is how they've turned over people who were politically active to authorities who would and have executed people. And if we make this enough of an issue in the boardroom, we make this enough an issue for the shareholders, if we make this enough of an issue when it comes to the IPO, they will start backing up when they see their wallet hurting. And this is the same thing for the music industry. Hurt them in the wallet. Start walking away from anything with a DCA label on it, with a copyright label on it. Walk away from it. Don't buy anything that has a copyright label on it. This is how to get your we'll call it your rights heard. You vote with your wallet. And the thing is that this is where the next key is that you can do anything you want politically, but politics and politicians will always follow the money. There's a lot of lobbyists in Washington throwing money at things, and these lobbyists aren't simply these large, mean corporations. And I said, these corporations, particularly the entertainment industry, most of the entertainment industry follows the left. This is Charlie Sheen. This is Martin Sheen. This is Jon Stewart. This is anyone who's on the left in Hollywood who has come out and said anything about human rights. That's these people. They're part of this industry. They are, while they're talking out their ass about free rights and free speech and all this other stuff, they're behind the scenes shutting off free speech. They're the ones behind Protect IP. They're the ones behind SOPA. They're the ones behind this new SOPA that's going to come out, that's supposedly going to try to come out. And we need to say, we know who you are now. We need to point them out and say, no more. And this being said, is we could take this now as that we're talking about this whole Iranian issue and how what has been actually going on inside of Iran, the sanctions, and this so-called threat of a war with Iran. There's an enormous amount of complications in here, and I recommended a video, and I still recommend this video if it's still up. It's called Daniel Yergin's The Prize. This is and it's going to be the second series, the second episode in this series. I'll be posting a link in the down below bar for this reference video. It might still be up. I don't know what state it is because it's been flagged. And this is what I'm talking about here, is that, this channel could get in a lot of trouble for the stuff I'm saying. I might be pulled off the air. If you don't see me around, it's because I've been pulled off the air. I've been pulled off the air. In YouTube, this channel has been censored. I've been having this problem. This is sort of why I'm redoing the format, and it's been split into two right now. And this, when you look at at what's been going on in the news in terms with this whole Israeli-Iranian war, and the Israeli-Iranian war has already started. That's in Syria. Syria is the beginnings, the covert war that will push into Iran. Because Iraq and Afghanistan has more or less failed, the United States cannot launch from there, and they are planning to launch through Syria from Israel. This brings us to the shooting that was occurred a couple of days ago. The shooting of the rabbi in Toulouse, France, and the children who were killed. There should be no mistake that when somebody is killed, it's a tragedy. But for some reason in the news and in the media, certain people, certain groups become more important than others. And this is true, and this is why I oppose the hate crimes laws, is because in the hate crimes law, certain groups are elevated above others. Certain groups become more important. And this shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be a tragedy if a Jew dies. It should be a tragedy because he's human, or the person's human. It shouldn't be it's not a tragedy because a person of a particular group dies. It's a tragedy because a person dies. And the thing is, this is actually illustrated in this bias is illustrated even in the Israeli media, where and you can sort of hear how, and this is from an Israeli paper, how what's going on in Gaza and the killings of the people in Gaza is akin to what happened with the Israeli people. Because this is the rabbi who was killed in Toulouse, France. This event happened a little bit after Gaza, and a lot of times Benjamin Netanyahu likes to blame Hamas and Hezbollah and all these different Iranian groups and tie everything together. Well, here is a comment on Benjamin Netanyahu and his positions. In this statement here, Benjamin Netanyahu is called Bibi. This is his nickname, but they're not using his proper title. They're calling him Bibi. And here it is. Bibi's speech sounds like it was a real stem winder. Among new crackpot theories he's developing, the Gaza fighting wasn't Israel's fault, and then in brackets, even though the IDF initiated it by assassinating a popular resistance committee leader who was allegedly planning a terror attack. No, the whole Gaza mess was Iran's fault. So what this article is pointing out, and it goes out to point out the number of other people who were assassinated, including when Israel attacked and killed a Hamas leader with his wife and children in the car, and this news that I'm getting from the Israeli paper never shows up in the Western media. It barely makes the ticker on BBC. It sometimes makes the ticker a little bit more on Al Jazeera, but in terms of what you see in the United States on ABC, NBC, CNN, it's like the stuff doesn't even exist. These people, essentially, the Palestinians don't matter. No one cares that the Palestinians are being killed. No one cares what's happening in Gaza. No one cares what's happening in West Bank. No one cares what happened in Jenin. No one cares when they went in and they destroyed the West Bank and Jenin in Ramallah and stuff like that. No one cared when they use these so-called accurate surgical warfare and literally just raise Gaza, or when the tank deliberately fired into a house where there were children in there, and they killed 3 young Palestinian girls. No one cared. It was on the news for a bit, and then it just simply died down and went away. But it wasn't like there was a day of mourning. There wasn't long processions in the street. There weren't talks on the news broadcast on how tragic this was. And it's very clear from what you see on CNN, from what I see on Anderson Cooper, from what I see on a lot of these shows, that how Palestinian life is viewed. Regardless of what you think of their politics, and this is the same thing for a Jew or anything like that. It shouldn't matter about their politics. It should matter that the human being is dead. Yet this doesn't matter, and you see this all the time on the news on CNN, and to be fair, other networks as well. This is when, a long time ago, when I started realizing what was going on in the news, I lost my respect for Barbara Walters. She, in her career, have completely glossed over the massacres, the number of dead in the Middle East. She has chosen groups that she will mourn for, and there are other groups, the undesirables, of which I'm part of. I'm not part of the white European. I'm part of my Greek background brings me more towards the Middle East. I'm not on the proper list that people should care about me. I'm not on this desired list, this white list that, of white Europeans, the fair-haired, the blue eyes, that should be cared about, that the media goes crazy over. I mean, just look at. Let's give the black groups who are out there protesting some credit here about what's going on in the United States, but this is not only just the United States. This is all over, where no one cares if a black kid gets killed in a ghetto. No one cares. It barely makes the news. Have a white kid kidnapped and killed, and it's on the news for a week. You know, this is sort of the state of things. And I said it's not simply a Jewish thing. It's not, you know, it's not simply uh, an American thing. This actually happens all over. And the thing is that in this paper, in this article as well, in this sort of blog I found, and there are several other blogs, Israeli blogs that I found that have the same sentiment to this. I found, going back to the Pakistani overthrow of Musharraf, a comment on the Arab Springs and the Arab uprisings, stating that there was a policy out there being promoted by the Mossad known as promoting Israeli democracy inside these dictatorships. And this is something that's fully supported and promoted by Obama. While he was talking and giving great speeches to the Muslims in the Middle East. And I think it's just to let you know, not all Middle Easterns are Muslims or were Muslims. Christianity is a 2,000-year-old religion. The first half of that 2,000 years, Christianity was Eastern, meaning it was not European. Christianity became European after about 1000 AD. So there is a whole group of people who have been ignored, persecuted, and simply left out because they're simply not of any value. Again, this is a value thing about which groups are important, which groups aren't. And what we see in these articles coming out of these Israeli magazines is we're seeing a view that this is not simply a Jewish conspiracy, that this is, you know, and you see this in some of the right blogs, that this is a Jewish conspiracy, that they're coming to take over the world, and, you know, Hitler was right, he should have wiped everybody out. And the thing is, if you look, and this is why I'm using Israeli sources to deal with the Middle East. I mean, I find sources from other areas, but I'm primarily using Israeli sources to sort of confirm everything. And when I talk about what's going on, I will be using the Israeli sources sort of to point this out, because not all Israelis feel the same way. And in fact, they're in the same paper. I found this as I was looking through it. And I wasn't looking at the Palestinian treatment in Gaza. What I was looking at was the assessment of what's going on in Iran, the Israeli war with Iran. And while you have the group AIPAC standing up and saying we need to protect Israel from Iran by going after its nuclear program, the Israelis on the ground are saying no, that this is suicidal. If you go after and attack Iran, this whole plan of Benjamin Netanyahu standing up there and saying, oh, we're going to attack Iran whether you're with us or without us, taking this sort of this George Bush reference. It's suicidal. And the thing is, the people on the ground in Israel don't like this because AIPAC and Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi, are playing with the lies of their Israeli citizens. And they say, this is from their papers, that an attack on Iran will destroy Israel. That Israel, right now, the greatest threat to Israel is Israel. Israel, with an attack on Iran, will be the hand that destroyed itself. It will be destroyed by its own hand. And this is something to think about when you hear politicians talking about let's go to war and something like that. And this, I'm going to give you another quote from this thing here. And what if the undersigned is being fooled by Bibi and Barak's show? And this is talking about this whole Israeli-Iran war threat thing here, right? Firstly, it could certainly happen. Secondly, at least I should be in good company with Obama, Sarkozy, Ahmadinejad, and the entire world. And when that world goes up in flames, who would even remember this? Remember the words printed here today. In other words, they're saying is that Obama, Sarkozy, Ahmadinejad are all standing together for this Israeli thing, and if this goes down like the way they say, that No one's going to remember this because the world is going to burn. This is from an Israeli paper. This is not from an American paper. And all you have to do, in this, on CNN, they pointed out the U.S. war games showed the exact same thing. This was confirmed by the war games. This was shown by when we recently found the mass graves in Libya. In Iraq, the explosions are still going on. We're still having death in Iraq. This is going on in Pakistan. And so when we come to Syria and say, let's go in and arm Syria, what are you talking about? Think about what's going to happen in Syria. If we do this, if we start both Iran and Syria at the same time, we're going to be in for a world of hurt. Anyways, that's it for tonight. I said, go to the down below bar. We have the second documentary tonight that you want is Daniel Yergin's The Prize is the second episode. Watch it. I said pick up the book for George Orwell, his works. Read that. These are very important. And then look for a person named Machiavelli. He is an older author from the Renaissance. Read his works. These people are crucial and sort of, they're pivotal to understand the politics that's going on today. And Daniel Yergin's The Prize will give you a good idea of what's happening and how oil plays in the whole thing. All right. Have a good night.